Welcome to Cannon Unbroken, hosted by Cannon Unbroken, a young advocate who transformed a rare diagnosis into a mission of hope. This podcast brings you powerful stories of courage, resilience, and triumph over adversity. Let's join Cannon now for this week's podcast.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cannon Unbroken. This is my first podcast, so bear with me. I'm a little nervous. Thanks for joining me. I do feel a little intimidated by my guest today, who is a legend in the basketball. And, if you know college basketball, you know his voice. Known for his quick wit and iconic catchphrases, he's a former basketball player and college basketball player turned broadcaster who's been the soundtrack of March Madness for decades. The one and only Bill Raftery. Thank you so much for joining me as my first guest, Bill. Thank you.
Okay, and thanks for having me. I always tell people I couldn't play, so I became a coach, and I couldn't coach, so I became a broadcaster. So here we are at the end of the road here. Thanks so much for having me on.
Of course, thank you. All right, so let's just jump right into the questions. So you called some of the biggest moments in basketball history when the lights are the brightest and the pressure's on. What what's your secret to staying cool and composed and calm?
Well, I'm not so sure I stay calm all the time. I do get a little
Okay.
excited, particularly at the end of the games. But basically, you realize the game is not about you.
Right.
It's about these teams, these individuals, and they really are the story.
Right.
And I try. Early in my career, an old timer said to me, like when you're on camera, uh, when you look into the lens, think you're talking to your mom, dad, brother, best friend. And that sort of resonates then too, because it's relaxing, it's not overwhelming, and
Yeah.
you feel very comfortable with it. But it's very, as I said, it comforts you, and I think it resonates with people watching the game as well.
Right. Awesome. Um, so in your years as a player, coach, broadcaster, you've seen people handle pressure in, I'm sure tons of different ways. And lots of people listening have hypophosphatasia and, they have to cope with the uncertainty in their health journeys. And in your opinion, what makes the biggest difference when someone is trying to push through a tough moment and, really get through those moments in life?
Right. Well, I try and remember basketball is just a game, and we're
Right,
all in the game of life as well. And our job basically is to convey what's transpiring during the course of a game. Add our analysis, opinions, and somewhat personality. Sometimes I'm not sure if some of my cracks work, but I give them a shot anyhow.
yeah,
But you try not to distract from the game. But just basically add your own insights. And of course,
right,
I always have a partner, so you work as a team with your partner to really enhance this experience for people tuning in. So,
right,
so I get immersed in a game. It's enjoyment. It's meaningful for so many people, whether it's communities, college campuses,
mm-hmm,
alumni, and even the casual fans. And someone who's coping with uncertainty certainly, needs a lot of love and support, which you certainly have with your family and your faith.
right,
Uh, you must know from your family that your life is meaningful. Uh,
for sure,
you face challenges every day that a lot of people don't. And the effort is to be positive and realize that you are a special individual
right,
and an amazing example to others by your courage. I mean, it really does help others. So we all have individual struggles to compete, prosper, and you're
right.
coping with it the right way. Just gives an extra added impression for others. So I think it's my father-in-law he had some health issues and did some amazing things with his life. He was I used to call him a great athlete. He happened to be a physician. Uh, but,
Mm-hmm.
but there's great athletes in everyday life, and you certainly are one of them. And I'm sure some of your pals are the same.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it all comes down to, just staying tough and keeping yourself and really just doing your best to, you know, just get
Hmm.
through everything and all that. So, um, I I have to ask this question, although I'm sure I'm not the first person to ever ask you this, and I'm sure you've heard this 100 times, and I've seen some interesting things said about it and what it means on the internet, but you're famous for saying multiple catchphrases, including specifically onions. And I just want to know where did that catchphrase like come from? Like what kind of made you think of that and like what does it mean?
Well, what it conveys basically is I didn't go to Harvard, I'm not
Right.
hard to pop it out. But years ago, the Nets were struggling, and Ian Eagle and I were doing a game with Orlando, and
Hmm.
the Nets were just having a terrible year. And out of the blue, Edwards, who played at the Paul and the Nets, made a three-pointer from the corner for the Nets to win. And for the first time in my life, I never said that before. I just blurted out onions. And I guess it was just a descriptive way of somebody reaching back. The inners, I know you got family that play golf. My grandpa may be making a big putt, so sometimes he has some onions as well.
Right.
So that's
Right.
basically the gist of it.
Like someone who's got a lot of clutch gene,
Correct. The
right,
inners.
like guts
Yeah,
and the
right.
ability to make
Yeah,
that clutch play.
yeah, don't give up. Always got a chance. And keeping a positive vibe and just being somebody as a good example to others.
Right. That makes sense. Well, it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense at the same time. Um, so when when things aren't going your way, how do you stay motivated? Like, how do you how could that perspective benefit someone living with a chronic condition such as HPP or anything really else that affects someone?
Well, I think we all look at sports and realize how upsets, things that you can't expect are going to happen. And I think that's because teams believe in themselves, players believe in themselves, and they have the support, whether it's coaches, alumni, or family.
Right.
But I think the big thing is you really have to compete in every game. And I think that's the same in life. You
Right.
know, it casts challenges in your direction.
Hmm.
Do you want to fold a tent? No, you want to have to realize that all the love of family and friends, as well as faith of our
Yeah.
Lord, is a motivating influence. And I think you, in your walk in life, are reciprocating that love and support by your contribution to the team, the family. And I
Right.
think you know how important you are, and I hope all the individuals that are uh, things don't go their way and they have to struggle, that they realize that there is a support system. The team needs you. I basically
Mhm.
say it's your obligation to accept the challenge God's given you, and you're an
Mhm.
integral part of this team. Your
Right.
fight and determination set the tone for the family, and it speaks well of the connection there. So
Right.
I hasten to say that we say a lot of things about athletes that endear you because they reach back and, things don't go right. Some guys don't respond well. But in a health situation, I think it's imperative that you realize that you're an integral part of the family structure. and that it's important for you to do what you can do to be a positive influence, believe in yourself, and I'm sure your impact will be far greater than you'll ever imagine with people maybe in similar or more difficult situations.
Right. I mean that's awesome. All right. Well, um, one last question. Something just, if you could leave one message for anyone, from everything you've experienced in basketball and broadcasting, if it literally anything, what would it be?
Uh, I think positivity is the most important thing. Um, I think belief in yourself, um, know you've got a foundation, a
Hmm.
support system. I think those are the thing, and the love that you have for family, I think, is what structures all of our life. It enhances our whole total being. I think when you know
Right.
that you got that kind of support behind you,
Hmm.
and I think that you certainly have it, and I think by what you're doing with this podcast, you are going to be able to reach a lot of people that every day maybe question themselves and don't want to push forward or
That's
take
the
advantage.
goal.
Yeah, I think the inner strength comes out, and I think the support at home is the one that brings it out.
Right. Awesome. Well, Mr. Raftery, I cannot
Bill,
thank you. Bill,
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 Kenny,
I can't, I'm sorry.
that's all right.
I can't thank you enough, for taking the time to join me and the HPP community today. Your stories, your insights, trademark energy, truly brought this conversation to life. And just like on the basketball court, resilience comes down to heart, and you've shown us plenty of it. So
Well, that's so
thank you
nice.
so much. Thank you. Of
God bless, and thanks for having me on.
course. Thank
Best
you
to
so much
everybody
for
too.
taking your time.
Bye bye now, Ken.
Bye bye.
Bye.
And that concludes our first episode. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Cannon Unbroken. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Alexion AstraZeneca Rare Disease. Until next time, may your determination stay strong and define your path. Join Cannon on the next episode as he continues sharing stories that illuminate the way forward. If today's episode resonated with you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might benefit. To learn more about HPP and join their supportive community, visit the Soft Bones Foundation at www.softbones.org.